guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Poke Resort. We are back again for another episode of our podcast series, and hopefully in the future we can keep having new people coming on to the channel, and we actually have someone today. And go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's JPR, and thank you for having me on today.
Oh, glad to have you. So, with the podcast format, we're going to be talking about things that are going on in the Pokemon world and maybe more Nintendo world today, because we had some pretty good, interesting news yesterday, and I kind of got scared on Twitter because I didn't know if that whole thing was going to crash after the announcement of the new Smash Brothers game. What do you think about that?
Oh my gosh, I am super hyped for Smash. I've been a competitive player for a few years now, and just the Smash community is great. I'll say that much. I just love all the people in there, from the top players to just the fans and everything. And I cannot wait to get started as a PokeTuber slash Smash tuber.
As long as you don't get copyrighted, you should be good.
I hope to God I don't.
But, in the Smash community, what are some of your characters that you tend to main when you're playing the game?
Well, my official main is Mewtwo. He's the one that I usually use in tournament. He's a good, top 10 character. I actually used him when he was terrible when he first came out, when he was released as DLC. But that's when you get free DLC and not paid DLC like Bayonetta.
Oh yeah.
But Mewtwo, I just loved him. I loved him in Melee, even when he was bad in Melee. But they made him very good in Smash 4, fortunately. And I just love Mewtwo. For secondaries, I use Link and sometimes Pikachu.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm very excited for Breath of the Wild Link, by the way. That looks
amazing. Oh my god, the graphics, everything just flows so nice. So I think we're definitely going to get that new aesthetic feel to the games. But, so as far as the, characters that I normally do, I'd say Pikachu is my main, but normally when I choose a character, I kind of just pick one I like and I try to make him work. I don't know if you're the same way, where, I mean, do you just, go for a character like, alright, this character is going to be really good, I'm going to start to main with him, practice with him, because as you said, Mewtwo wasn't exactly like the, one that you'd be seeing a lot in the competitive scene. So do you kind of more just like, alright, I like that character, I'm going to do my best to make him good?
Generally, what I'll do is I'll just be like, okay, I'm just gonna start by picking characters from franchises that I've already played before. I like to do that. I like to be like, oh, hey, I've played all the Pokemon games, so I'll stick with the Pokemon characters, or I'll stick with the Zelda characters, or just Xenoblade, stuff like that. And then from that pool of characters, then I'll be like, okay, who's the best one? Who's the one that fits me the most? And then I'll stick with that character from there on.
Okay, that's pretty good. I'd say I'm about the same way with you, where I start to alright, let's get my favorite characters in the game. Now that I know what characters I like, then I'm going to start to practice them and see how they are competitively. If some aren't as good, maybe I'll stray away with them for a little bit, but if I like the character a lot, I'll give them a go and just see what I can do with the character, just with the abilities given. But I'd say Pikachu is definitely my main. I think I like more of the quicker characters, where the slower characters, I'm just not as adept to be able to compete with other players that are just more skilled with whatever character they be going against. So I think it's a pretty good skill to be able to be decent with Mewtwo, because he's definitely got a little bit slower, I guess, style, but he can definitely be effective in some circumstances.
Yeah, he's definitely more of a spacey zoner type character. He has his giant tail, and he has Shadow Ball and stuff like that. Pikachu is just sort of run you over, getting combos, kind of nickel and diming you here and there. That's how Pikachu plays, and Pikachu is very good in Smash 4 as well. Probably around the same tier that Mewtwo's in. So
yeah, I would say so. So kind of spiraling into the next thing that we'll be talking about. We'll still be talking about Smashes, but we're going to be getting new characters, and I want your take on this. When I saw the new release, because, I mean, when was the last time we had the official last DLC character in Smash? Was it less than 2 years ago?
It was February of 2016, so yes, just a little over 2 years ago.
Okay, so when we see that, most of the time we get what I would say maybe a 7-year gap in between Smash games. So between the Wii U version and the Switch version, I'm wondering if this is going to be like what we've had for the most recent Nintendo games, where we're getting a deluxe edition rather than a new game. Do you feel like this is going to be a new game, or an enhanced version where we might be getting all the characters that we had in the Wii U version all bundled together in one new game, plus new characters to be integrated in?
I feel like That was originally what I thought. I was like, 2018, that seems like really, really close, especially when Smash 4's development life ended. And I was like, this might just be a port. But then I remembered there was only 2 years between N64 and Melee, and those games are entirely different. So
that is very true.
I was like, maybe that's a factor that plays into it. And maybe Sakurai wasn't as involved in like the creation of the DLC. Maybe his role ended in like 2014 or something. He's been working on the Switch project ever since. So that might be one indicator. Another one is the fact that the logo is entirely different.
Yep.
That leads me to believe that it'll be a new Smash game. I feel like if it was gonna be just a port, they would have like shown the full thing, like Smash for the Switch, and it would be in the very same style as the 3DS Wii U logo. But this just looks entirely new, which leads me to believe that it is indeed going to be a Smash 5 over just a port.
And what's even crazier is that it's going to be coming out this year still, where I would assume an announcement like this, okay, we'll get maybe a year to kind of prepare for the game, maybe come out in spring. But when they said 2018, like, it has to be closer to Christmas 2018. Do you think it'd be coming out any earlier than that?
I can't really see it coming out any earlier than that, honestly. I feel like Christmas is definitely a good estimate there.
Yeah, because like once they said 2018, like, you know they're going to be pushing it to like almost December 31st to be able to just put that 2018 out there to people, to get people all hyped for it coming out this year. But yeah, I definitely would see something close to like a Black Friday release to be able to definitely capitalize on that Black Friday. So
that's most of the time when like all the Smash games come out. I believe that Melee came out in that time period. I don't know about Brawl. I think Brawl came out in the spring, actually.
I think so too, yeah.
And I know that the Wii U version actually came out on the exact same day as Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Nintendo took my entire wallet that day, and I'm still upset.
Oh man, yeah, they gotta like. Is it really that hard to be able to just space these games, especially when you're like it's your own company? You gotta know, like, you got one game coming out one day. Why would you have the same game come out the same day? Because then you're gonna make everyone else just struggle. Like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to play this game for 4 hours in the morning. I'm gonna play this game for 4 hours in the afternoon. It's like, no, I want to play through an entire game, be done with it, and then move on to the next. Or at least with Smash, you can kind of pick that up whenever you want. Where with Pokemon, I'm kind of like, I got that game in my hands until I beat it.
Yeah. I don't think I touched the Wii U version for at least like a couple weeks after I beat Oras. So,
oh yeah.
You know, some people will be like, oh, Smash. Some people will be like, oh, Pokemon. So to each their own.
Yeah, because because the 3DS version, it came out the same day as the Wii U. Is that correct?
The 3DS version came out, I want to say, a month and a half earlier.
Okay, that was it, because I think that one came out in September-ish? Does that sound about right? September, early October?
Japan, I believe. I believe it was October for America.
Okay, yeah, because that was the game that I remember playing first, and I was trying to, like, remember when did I start picking up the Wii U version. But yeah, I think it was definitely when I got the 3DS version. That's why I think I started to get more into the game, because I'd say when I played the games before, I would just play locally with whoever's in my neighborhood, just local friends, where I never really saw the like the hugeness of this game for everybody around just going on YouTube. Or I don't really think it was when the Wii version came out. People didn't know exactly what this is going to be, even though like the Melee scene was just absolutely insane. So I think it was just more of like a younger kid like aspect, where I just didn't realize how big this game really was.
Even though the 3DS version like isn't widely used for like tournaments or anything like that, like it's kind of fallen off in comparison to the Wii U version. But I feel like the 3DS version had a great role in just like getting newer, younger fans involved in the competitive scene.
Yep,
they get to play with their friends a lot easier.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, and I think that's when I started to play the 3DS version. That's when I really understood more of the competitive aspect, what I'm going to be learning, what controls I need to be doing to kind of just pick up my game and just more elevate it to more of a competitive standpoint than just casually playing with your friends, unlike the Melee version, well, at least for my age, or the Wii version. So, but what we're going to be talking about next is what characters are going to be coming to the Switch. And the biggest thing is, I think the best thing we can say is we may get one new Pokemon. That's about it. I don't think we would be seeing anything new, and I feel like we'd be keeping all the ones that we originally had in the past games. So, what would your list be for the next Pokemon that you would want or can expect to see for this new Smash game?
Alright, so I believe there are 5 viable Generation 7 Pokemon that we could see coming to this game.
Okay.
The first one is pretty obvious. It's Decidueye.
Yep.
Decidueye is probably the fan favorite starter, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
He's already in Pokken, and he would just be following that trend. Like, we have Charizard in there, we have Greninja in there. Final Grass starter would be really cool, I think. Just complete the trinity. After that, I have Lycanroc Midnight form.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
I know that Dusk is probably the most popular, but like quadruped fighters are not very common in Smash. We only had 2. We had Ivysaur and we have Duck Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. They could make Dusk form work, I guess, but like Midnight form seems more suited for a fighting game, I guess.
Yeah,
and just Lycanroc in general is very popular. Like, he seems like one of the most popular Gen 7 Pokemon. I think he actually is. So Lycanroc Midnight form, I believe, is another really good candidate. This one's a little more off the wall, but Tapu Koko, he has a pretty big role in Gen 7 in both the games and the anime.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see Tapu Koko being a possibility. Not as strong as the previous 2, but definitely still in the race. And then the last 2 are going to be both the Mythicals, Marshadow and Zeraora. Because I believe Zeraora will probably be relevant at the end of this year, especially if they announce it for the movie. Marshadow, maybe he'll still be relevant. People like Marshadow. I'm just thinking, like, what Pokemon has been in a movie recently? That's usually a big factor. Like, oh, this Pokemon has to have a movie. We saw that with Lucario and Mewtwo and stuff like that. And just the fact that, you know, they are more relevant than other Gen 7 Pokemon, I guess, because they get released later. So that's just my train of thought.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think when was it Smash for the Wii? Did Lucario or did Generation 4 come out yet when Lucario was added to Smash?
I believe Generation 4 had been out for a year to 2 years before Brawl came out.
Okay, because I was trying to think, was there one generation where a Pokemon came to the Smash game? What was it? Was it the Wii U version with Greninja?
Yes, it definitely was Greninja. What happened was X and Y was still in development at the time that Smash 4 was in development, and Sakurai was like, hey, I need a Pokemon character, because I promised dudes a Pokemon character, and they're like, okay, here's the concept art for the Delphox, Greninja, and Chestnut, and he was like, they're like, choose whichever one you want, because we don't know which one's going to become the fan favorite, and Sakurai was like, okay, I can do the most with Greninja. And he only knew the Greninja had Water Shuriken, really. And so he had to infer what his other moves would be. So he gave him Substitute, which every Pokemon can learn through TM. Gave him Shadow Sneak, which he can learn through breeding, I think, or Move Tutor, something like that. It's not actually natural, but he has Shadow Sneak. And then Hydro Pump, which just about every Water-type starter can learn. So he did a pretty good job of inferring the moveset, I would say. But Greninja definitely is not the most faithful to the games because of that, but I still like him.
Yeah, because I think, well, I feel like they got it correct, though, with Greninja, if you're going to choose a starter, because that was, I mean, just look at the anime. Obviously, they normally go towards whoever, like, the community is thinking is their kind of favorite of the 3, and they definitely, I think they got Greninja correct for that. So they did a good job in that, and I would say for Generation 7, it would be Decidueye.
Yeah.
So, and
especially since Ash has Rowlet. I mean, we don't know if it's going to evolve to Decidueye, but like just having him on Ash's team is already just a giant plus.
Yeah, because I think there was one generation of the anime where there was a Pokemon that was supposed to evolve, but because it was such a fan favorite, it didn't, and it might have. I think it might have been Piplup.
Oshawott, actually.
That was it, Oshawott. Yep.
Yeah.
Because I think they came up with the character art for it, just like with the animation styles for it. But then it became such a hit just with the fans, I guess, and they decided not to evolve it. So with Generation 7, I think it's safe to assume Rowlet is the #1 option to go to. So I think because everyone likes it so much, it may not ever evolve.
I would say so, yeah. I think that the comedy relief Pokemon, especially since he lives in like Ash's backpack, I guess they want to keep merchandise out of that, actually. It's super cute. But I feel like they'll keep that going. I don't see Rowlet evolving, and if he doesn't, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and I guess we'll talk into the anime a little bit later in this segment, but I'll just go to my kind of top 5-ish Pokemon that I would like to see in Smash, and they would be Decidueye, which you already had. I also added Incineroar because just more of its brawling style. It's not firefighting, but it has that kind of wrestler aspect to it where I think it would be a good addition to Smash, whether or not it is a fan favorite or not. And then I thought I'd go old school to Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. I think that would be a cool aspect where you have one that's all kicker and then one that's all fists. So I think being able to kind of replicate it off just any really Smash character, I think the best one I could probably relate it to is it Mac? I'm trying to remember the
yeah, Little Mac.
Lil Mac, where you can kind of relate to him, where you got this quick guy that's able to do a lot of fist moves, and I feel like Hitmonchan would be a good option for that, and I guess you just kind of change the aesthetic a little bit for Hitmonlee just to use its fists, or its feet. So I think that'd be kind of a cool Gen 1 version to be able to bring to the new consoles. And then my others would be Zeraora, and the reason why I'm picking it is because of the same reason with Greninja, where you have a Pokemon that's going to be announced, not yet announced, but it does look like it has that kind of iconic vibe to it where I feel like a lot of people are going to be gravitating towards it, like Lucario, because it has that style of body movement, and I don't know, I really like the design personally, and putting it into a Smash game with just having its body ready for a fighting brawler style of a video game, I think it'd be able to fit into it pretty well. And then my dark horse option would be a new Pokemon, like not Zeraora, but a new one for Generation 8. I don't know, do we count Zeraora as Generation 7 or 8? What do you think?
We count that as Generation 7, because Mythicals are always just sort of like that, even if they're in the game and they're not quite out yet. So I would say that Zeraora is definitely a Gen 7.
Okay, and then, so I guess for my last one for Generation 8, I don't think Pokemon for the Switch is going to be coming out this year. I really don't, and I'm happy for it, to be honest, because we've had so little gaps between games. I want something that's fully developed, because people have been complaining a little bit about Pokemon games lately, and I want a fully polished game that I don't even care. Take 2 or 3 years to make the game. I mean, people don't really talk about that Pokemon right now that much anyway, so what is it gonna hurt to be able to lengthen that time and just put that much more effort into the storyline, adding new Pokemon to it? And I feel like just making something that would be a lot more well-rounded of a video game to be able to take another year to make, I don't think I'd be too mad about it.
I feel like in regards to Generation 8 and Smash, I feel like if they already have Pokemon in development that's like Lucario or Zoroark or Lycanroc, and they know it's going to be a fan favorite and they're going to push it super hard and they're going to give it its own movie, then I feel like they would have already shared that design with the Smash Bros team, and maybe they'd already be working on it. But if they are just super, like, they don't want to spoil anything before Gen 8 comes out, then I feel like we would not get a new Pokemon character at the initial launch, and then, like, maybe the first DLC wave would be like, oh, here's a Gen 8 Pokemon.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And if we're going back to Gen 1, actually, I'd like to add this. I feel like maybe Squirtle or Ivysaur, because they were already past Smash characters, and you know, Charizard came back already, and I would just like to see them more fleshed out. Like, they kind of suffered all being tied together in Pokemon Trainer, and they had that weird, like, type mechanic thing that just really screwed over Ivysaur and Squirtle most of all. So I would just really like to see how they could make Squirtle and Ivysaur work in a new Smash game when they're not all tied together by the Pokemon Trainer.
Right, because I mean, technically they already have all the 3D animations for it, so now it's just more of just doing subtle enhancements to just help the graphics, but also improve the characters as a whole, just to make them their own. So, I think that's about it for Smash. Is there anything else you want to add to it, or are you ready to move on to the next subject?
I think we can go ahead and move on.
Okay, so the next thing I'd say in Pokemon news that we've gotten is the new movie trailer. So, before we get into that, though, what did you think of the first movie? Because I'm asking this question because it seems like this is a continuation of what we just recently had.
The first movie as in I Choose You?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. I actually enjoyed I Choose You a lot. It is not my favorite Pokemon movie, but like I would say it's probably in the top 5. I know it's very divisive. A lot of people hate it, a lot of people love it. I'm sort of in the middle, but more towards love. There's actually a really great edit online. I can't really link it because it's not legal. But there's this great edit where they actually put the Japanese music back in, because like the Japanese version of this film has like a bunch of season 1 remixes.
Oh,
of
yes.
all this classic music. And unfortunately, the dub removed like almost every single piece of music. They only keep the one piece of music at the end. It's like the world of Pokemon, and that's it's like the credits theme from.
And that was when I finally perked up over like, oh wait, that sounds nostalgic.
And I was like, okay, this movie is a lot more enjoyable watching the edited version with the Japanese music, I would say. The dub music wasn't the worst it's ever been, but it was still dub music, and I feel like it just took away from like the atmosphere of the film in general. That's just my opinion. I'm sure people love the official dub, but just for me, I could not connect with it as much.
Well, I think you can kind of put it this way. Do you remember any of the music that was in, other than just knowing it was kind of irrelevant and you didn't like it?
Like the actual dub version?
Yes.
Okay, God, I can't really remember much of the music.
But that's the point though, right? Because
I can remember
it's not iconic.
They had like a little piano version of the Pokemon theme, like an Ash is like trying to protect Pikachu at the end against like the whole army that Marshadow is controlling. I don't want to spoil it too much, but like I do remember that, and of course the main theme was remade. But yeah, like you said, since it's not nostalgic or iconic, it doesn't really stand out as much. I believe they like in Ash's. God, I don't want to say it because it's a spoiler. But
well, I mean, technically, how long has the movie been out for now? Does it count as a spoiler if it's been out for almost?
I don't know. Okay, we'll just
it's out on DVD.
Yeah, we'll just say mute if you don't know. But like during Ash's resurrection scene, there's like an instrumental of the ending theme, which is also called "I Choose You." But that's just weird to put in to me because the ending theme, if you're watching this movie for the first time, you don't know what the ending theme is. So why would you put that in? I'm just like, oh, that was a bad decision in my opinion. Like, I guess if you're rewatching, then they'll be like, oh, hey, that's an instrumental of the credits theme, even though we're not at the credits yet. But I don't know.
All right, so then we'll go into what did you like, because I think I've been pretty vocal where I couldn't stand the movie, but I'm not going to be mad at anyone who likes it. So I guess, what is your take? Like, what did you appreciate from the movie that you at the end of the movie say, like, you know what, that's a good movie?
Okay, so I have a greater appreciation for this movie after watching the abysmal Full Metal Alchemist live-action movie. Because I realized that they are both kind of similar in what they try to do. They try to establish the characters' origin stories. They try to kind of retell some nostalgic elements, and then put their own spin on it at the end, make their own story out of it. And what Full Metal Alchemist does is, we're going to establish these characters' backstories in 20 seconds. And then just leap into everything else. I like how I Choose You is like, okay, here's like 10 to 15 minutes telling you who Ash and Pikachu are if you're a newcomer or if you're an old fan, whatever. And I like how they mixed up some of the elements. Like, it's not exactly like the first episode. They mix it up a little bit so it's still entertaining. And then I just think every element of the plot, like they put Charmander back in, but they rewrote his backstory. They made Cross his trainer instead of Damien, I think his name was. So they did that. They rewrote Charmander's backstory. He became relevant in the plot because of that. I feel like every element that they tried to redo actually ended up being pretty well. The one that stuck out was Butterfree's release. That's the one I was like, why did that relate to the plot? I guess there was like a sub theme in there of like, oh, Pokemon won't always be with us, because they were talking about like Sorrel and his Luxray when he was younger. So I guess that tied together because those scenes were back to back, but it didn't really have anything lasting. It was just like a nostalgia trip, I guess.
But when you mentioned that Luxray scene, that was my favorite scene in the show because it really showed you emotion in it, where the other ones, just in my opinion, I felt like I know exactly what they were trying to do with the game, or with the movie. They were trying to bring the nostalgia back, but they were mainly trying to do it for a new audience to kind of like, because I mean, kids are like 7 years old. They don't really know what the Indigo League is. They only know what like Sun and Moon is because they're just a casual watcher. It's on TV. So when you have a movie that kind of redefines what the beginning was, and they try to include other Pokemon in there into the games to be able to make them more familiar with the other generations by throwing them into Generation 1. And I understand what they're trying to do with it, but I feel like everything was just trying to be thrown in there where a lot of it didn't land for me, where I knew the scenes, but they changed it and they made it so quick where nothing really clicked for me. So when I saw something new with the Luxray scene and actually seeing a Pokemon die, I understood the pain that the trainer had between him and his Pokemon. But when it came to everything else, I didn't really understand, or they didn't develop their relationship enough for me to care what happened in the movie. But I mean, I have to remember, like, repeat to myself that this is a movie mainly made for kids, where if it was a nostalgia movie for us because I'm 23 years old, so I've been a fan of the franchise since I was about 4 or 5, what they did for me was they brought Pokemon Generations and Pokemon Origins. That was more directly catered to me, where this one, because it had Ash Ketchum in it, that's where I feel like they wanted to bring it to the kids to be able to retell them what it's like to go through this journey, but just in a very crunch time mode of an hour and a half, basically.
Yeah, there's only a certain amount of things you can do in 90 minutes, of course. I feel like Butterfree, like I already said, he suffered the most, because Caterpie is barely a character. He's caught during a montage. He evolves during what would be a montage in the Japanese version, but they edited it in the dub. And then he evolves a second time, very fast. Like, he's on screen for like 5 minutes in total, and then he's released. So I feel like Butterfree suffered the most. Butterfree wasn't like an amazing character in the actual series. He had maybe a couple good episodes, but here it was just even more rushed. I say he was probably the one that suffered the most. A lot of people talk about Brock and Misty not being in there. I honestly didn't notice that much. Like, I was like, oh, hey, I missed Brock and Misty, of course. But I don't feel like Sorrel and Verity were bad replacements. Like you said, since it's only a 90-minute movie, it's hard to connect with these new characters, knowing, oh, we probably won't see them again after this. But I feel like replacing Brock and Misty didn't kill the movie for me. Like, I was like, oh, okay, they're just not here, and I'll just treat these new characters like they were Brock and Misty.
Yeah, I think another thing that Pokemon kind of missed out on, or like just didn't do, was they needed to kind of stress right away that this is not really canon. This is just a kind of a story, just to make a story, really, and just gonna give a different dimension. Because when we didn't see any of that, we were also confused with the trailers. Like, what is this movie? Like why isn't Brock or Misty in there? Why are all these things happening? None of it really seems to make any sense. They never really clarified it. They just kind of just said, this is a new Ash.
People were saying, oh man, this movie's rewriting history and Brock and Misty aren't canon anymore. And it's like, no, it's an alternate universe. It's okay, but they didn't establish it all that well.
And I think if they would have brought Brock and Misty, it would have made things probably even tougher to understand, because it still is a completely different storyline, but at least we wouldn't have needed any kind of really backstory to those characters, because we already know who they are. You kind of just need to say, yeah, they're a gym trainer and they have this one reason that they're going to go follow along with Ash, where these guys, I think you kind of summed up these never before seen characters of what their journeys are in maybe less than 5 minutes. So, but I mean, overall, I think the movie did well as far as just marketing it towards kids, and I feel like they enjoyed it. So if they enjoyed it and they made money off it, it's a successful movie. But moving into what this new movie is, I am assuming it's a continuation, but because it's a different art style, I don't really know what we're calling this one. This just seems like it's another remake of Pokemon the Movie 2000, but just like a different spin with different characters. So I don't know. What do you think this movie is going to be related to as far as from the first movie goes? Are they related at all?
Oh my gosh. I assume they are. Like, he has the same hat. It would be a logical progression, go from Kanto to Johto, I guess.
So is he older?
I don't know. Like, probably not. Probably not. We'll just say that, because he's always been 10. But I don't know. I'll say that he's probably not older. The art style looks amazing, though.
Yeah.
I love how they have like 2 different animation studios working together with this. This is actually the first movie with a new director, I believe. Actually, they've had the same director for the last 20 movies.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
They have a new guy for this one. So yeah.
Okay. Huh.
It's gonna be interesting to say the least.
That literally just kind of piqued my interest a lot more. Not gonna lie. But. So,
but
like, oh yeah, go ahead.
I don't think it's a remake of Pokemon 2000. I feel like he's just gonna kind of be there like Ho-Oh is. I hope he has a little bit of a bigger role than Ho-Oh did. But I don't know. I don't feel like it's gonna be a 2000 remake, because it's definitely a different setting.
Yeah.
And these characters will definitely be very important, especially given the title of the movie being Everyone's Story.
Which makes me nervous, though, because when they say it's everyone's story, you bring like 10 new characters into it. How well are we going to know these characters?
There's a lot of people in here, so I hope they're not hustling for time like they were in I Choose You. Hopefully they'll be able to flesh out these characters, and if they have to extend it to 2 hours, then by all means, I'm not going to be upset. Just somewhat give us a good story, I guess.
But honestly, what they need to do with this franchise, if they're going to make movies like this and then bring all these new characters, you know what they need to do that they're never going to do, but have you heard of this franchise called Marvel?
Yes, of course I have.
what they do is they have all these popular characters, they have their own single movie, and then they integrate them all together into one movie because we already know their backstory, so we don't need to explain that in a only 2-hour time crunch, basically. So I know it would be pretty much impossible for Pokemon. They don't do it. I know what their marketing is. They're not going to do it. But if you're going to try to do something to, like, there's literally like 8 new characters that we all saw together. So if we're going to have to develop them and we only have about an hour and a half time crunch, my first worry is, how are they going to be going about this? How are we going to make them care about the character? Because that's the biggest thing I try to get out of the movie. How am I supposed to care for this character and be interested in what they do going forward? Because it's very important to do at the beginning of the movie. Because if you're just going to throw them in there and not really give them that much of a purpose, then I don't really care about knowing any scenes involving them.
Yeah, I feel like your idea of having like a cinematic universe would work really well if they did, like, say, a Pokemon Origin style movie for like each region, and like we got a different protagonist, and then they all met up with Ash at some point.
That'd be amazing.
Some big adventure. That would be fantastic, honestly, but I feel like the only reason they're not doing that is because they're only doing these unique movies for Generation 7, because it's hard to do a movie in the Alola setting, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess they're already including what would be the legendary movie in the series, because they have the whatever the new series out now involving Ultra Beast. So I mean, you have the Ultra Beast, including Necrozma, and I guess Solgaleo and Lunala. That's part of like the everyday episodes. What's the point of like even
they're
having a movie?
definitely moving all the legendaries and base over to the main anime, so you give them, you know, I guess it's a good idea too, because like a lot of people have criticized Sun and Moon saying, oh, there's not much happening here, it's a school anime or whatnot, but at the same time they're able to pad out their series by having all these Ultra Beast episodes and like Solgaleo, Lunala, all stuff like that, whereas you keep Marshadow and Zeraora in the movies.
Yeah, and I think another thing is with these movies that they're bringing so many different generations all into one. I think it doesn't matter for kids. This is cool, but when I'm looking as a 23-year-old, knowing the franchise for so long, well, why are they in there? They're just being thrown in there to kind of to promote them, where they don't really have a reason. Like with the I Choose You movie, there was no reason to have Marshadow in it because it really didn't make any sense. They didn't explain even how they got there or how he had any correlation with Ho-Oh. It was just there and it just happened. I'm like, all right, I'm not fighting this. I'm just accepting it the way it is. I'm just going to move on from that.
That was probably my least favorite part of I Choose You. I was like, why is Marshadow here? I was just like...
Promotion. Literally, that's the only reason.
Did we not have a mythical that's just promotion? Like, for one movie, please?
And I think with this new one, because I believe it was Lugia and it has the 3 legendary birds. Is that correct? Or are there any others in it that we know of?
Do we have confirmation of the 3 legendary birds?
I have to double check on that, because I thought I saw like a silhouette of them like flying around, but I could be wrong. It's been I don't know. I have to remember the trailer
I don't know. I don't remember any legendary.
Okay, so let's not say there's any legendary birds in there. Is the only one we know of right now Lugia?
I believe so.
Okay, and I think from what we've seen, do you expect Lugia to talk?
Ugh. Well, I don't know. They didn't make Ho-Oh talk.
And
So-
I liked that. I don't
didn't-
need
they
them to
also-
talk to portray emotion.
Yeah, and I feel like if they're gonna have a bunch of characters already, like I feel like this movie's gonna have a ton of characters they are and how they had to develop everybody. I don't think they need Lugia to talk on it.
No. And I think that's one of the things that have kind of strayed me away from at least the recent movies, in Kalos, Unova, whatever you want to call them, with all the mythical Pokemon, all the legendaries. They always talk, and I feel like the most effective way to be able to get these like feelings for these characters is by just getting rid of that altogether and just showing their emotions without needing. Because think of a pet. You know exactly what a pet is thinking without them needing to literally say it to you, right?
Oh yeah.
So if you can
I think
do that,
a great example is actually Magearna from the 19th movie. She is one of the very few recent mythical Pokemon in a movie that hasn't been able to talk, and I would argue that she's probably one of the best Pokemon characters we've had in recent times, despite not being able to talk. So I feel like that is a character done very well. Celebi from Pokemon Forever was done pretty well, despite not being able to talk. And I feel like the number one reason why we won't have Lugia talk in this movie is because Lugia already talked in Pokemon 2000, and the last time we had the same Pokemon talk twice was Mewtwo. And of course there was a ton of backlash because that was not the same Mewtwo.
Yeah, I was part of that. I was a big part of that. There was so much confusion there. I think I remember making a video, I was like, typing the script, and I was just so frustrated just going over how any of this makes sense. I just scrapped it because I was just so done dealing with it because none of it made sense.
And I feel like they don't want to face that backlash twice. Like, even if it could still be a male voice. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, if it's a female voice, people will hate it. But
Well,
like,
because it was a female voice, it was a different voice, so we knew it was different than the original, and that's what just, like, had everyone throw their arms up.
If they establish, oh, this Lugia is different from the original Lugia, then people will be like, how are there two Lugias? Well, actually, we've seen multiple Lugias in the anime.
From the,
but, like, they didn't establish that with Mewtwo, and I feel like that was what their problem was. And then they were like, oh, wait, by the way, this is a different Mewtwo, but we're not gonna wait until halfway through the movie to explain it.
Yeah, and we technically they still didn't really explain, because there's no possible way to be able to make another Mewtwo, because from the original movie, it's a literally created off of Mew from a lab that was literally destroyed. So to be able to create the exact same thing off of zero knowledge from what was done before and just somehow change the voice, it just none of it makes sense. But I mean, that's the problem with Pokemon. It never makes sense.
So the movie just doesn't make sense in general, I feel like.
Yeah, no, that's why, like, there's so many things, like, I know what they're trying to promote what's new, but you gotta do it to have it, like, make sense at the same time. But they don't care because they cater it towards 7-year-olds anyways. So if they don't care, then the creators don't care.
I just want to say, my biggest gripe with the movie was that at the end of Mewtwo Returns, right, we see him overlooking what is presumably New York City. And that's the setting for the 16th movie. That's also what the Unova region is.
Oh, see, now you're making it worse, though, because now we have a different voice, and they said it's different. So, oh, God, I can't. Nope.
It's like,
I'm not doing it.
You had original Mewtwo show up at this place, and then you have Mewtwo in this movie, but it's not the same Mewtwo. So you have two Mewtwo's in this same city, but one of them, the one that we care about, is just not gonna be in the movie.
Yeah, you literally just made that worse for me now. Thanks for that.
Oh my god, it's so terrible. I'm sorry.
Oh man, just none of the anime makes sense. Let's just put it out there. If you want it to make sense, you're in for a huge disappointment. Just know what it is and accept what it is.
when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh my gosh, they remembered. What a great connection. And then it wasn't a great connection.
And then they also made it Mega Evolve out of nowhere. They didn't explain how that happened. How cool would it have been to have, like, literally like a 30-minute short, like what they had with the original movie, to explain the origin of how it was created or how it was able to get its Mega Evolution power. But do they do that?
They have a prologue. They did have a prologue for this movie.
They did, but they didn't explain it. That was it. So many opportunities. Like, I would just love to just be able to talk with these guys. Like, what is going through your head? You guys realize how good of a product you have and how good of things you can make out of it, but you just keep botching it? Like, that's like my biggest gripe with Pokemon. Like they have such a good idea for a franchise, and to actually make it into an amazing TV show that could be adult oriented, like not even like adult, you can make it like 12 and up, like what Dragon Ball Z is, or 10 and up, whatever you want to call it. But just to have that next level effect to it, to really explain storylines and see people evolve throughout a series, oh my god, they could do so much with it. But I think the biggest thing that they're doing that ruins it is by keeping Ash the same and everything, because he just resets and it's just more of rebooting the franchise over and over again than really developing it.
Yeah.
But, oh well, that's just my opinion on it. So at least for this new trailer, I'm looking forward to it though, because it looks like it is a continuation, so maybe we will see a progression between Ash from the first and the second movie. And with the character style, maybe he is older, or maybe they just wanted to change the style just to change it again. I don't know why they like doing it so much, but they just keep doing it and just confusing everybody. But it's something that at least has intrigued me a little bit, so I'm looking forward to seeing the next trailer.
Oh yeah, me too. Especially since this first trailer was very, very vague. So
incredibly vague.
Some more details next time.
Yeah, all we really got was the like Lugia and animation style. That's pretty much about it. And I guess the new characters that are in there, but that's it. So screenshot new characters, Lugia, Ash, done.
Yep.
So then we can kind of spiral into, I guess we talked about it a little bit as far as what the TV show is going. So right now, I'm not sure where, I know Japanese is what, like 30, 40 episodes ahead of American episodes, or global, anything else after it?
I want to say they're like 20 ahead right now.
Okay.
But
so
the dub's going to do a marathon very soon, like they're doing like 8 episodes in a row or something.
Oh, really? Okay, so with that, how much longer do you think they can continue this series for? Just because if we're not going to get Generation 8, which I'm assuming until maybe fall or spring of 2019, what do you think they're going to be doing for this filler between now and then? Because normally right when Ash is done with his journey, the new one starts almost immediately for the new generation. But it seems like we're kind of dwindling towards the end, where maybe we have about 10 to 20 weeks left of what I think is it, unless if we do something, I think, like with Black and White did with Adventures in Unova or something like that, where they brought Charizard back. I could see them maybe doing that aspect, but they may not necessarily be in Alola for that much longer.
And that has been a big concern. A lot of people are like, here's the issue with Gen 7, right? I wouldn't even say it's an issue. It's just that, like, pacing is weird. Like, the way I put it is that, like, when you were growing up and you and your friends got the same Pokemon game, the first question you would always ask someone is, what gym are you at? Because that was how you measured your progress, right? You can't do that in Alola, especially since the rules of the anime and the island trial are completely different from the rules from the games. In the games, you just do all the trials. But in the anime, it's one trial on the island. It doesn't matter which one you do. Like, Ash only did the grass trial on Kala Island. He did not do the fire trial, and he did not do the water trial. Actually, the fire trial didn't even exist. So he only has to do one trial per island, and then he does the grand trial. So technically, he's completed 4 out of 8 already. So and he's already done the whole Lusamine arc with the Ultra Beast and whatnot. So I guess they're halfway or past halfway. I feel like they've paced it well, given what they have to work with. Like I said, it's just very weird because it's like we used gyms for the longest time to measure progress, right?
Yeah.
And we can't do that anymore. So it's weird to pinpoint exactly where they are in the series. Like, we know Kukui wants to make an Alola League. He's referenced it many times, including the last episode, which aired yesterday. So we know the Alola League is on the horizon. We still had to do Ula Island. We still had to do Pony Island. Actually did a little bit of Pony Island already, but Ula is relatively unexplored.
Okay.
So I feel like they could actually run through this next part of the anime and not be too rushed, especially since they got a giant plot part out of the way with Lusamine and whatnot, and they've already gotten a decent amount of trials out.
So just from where I'm seeing, just for the pacing goes, if we're able to make this go for another year, do you think that people will just be absolutely burnt out with this generation by then, if we're able to go that long, especially with the TV series?
I don't know, because, like, the TV series rating-wise, is actually doing better than XY. In Japan, at least. Like, I know that, like, Japan... XY started super high, right? Like, it started, like, 6 million or something, and then at the end, it was, like, 2.
Wow.
And here, it stayed, like, a consistent 4 million across the board. So, like, it didn't start as high as XY did, but it has not dropped off at all. So...
Well, I think the reason for that is, I mean, obviously, Alola has a very different style to it as far as the TV show goes. You can easily see from the animation standpoint, whether it's the art style or the animation, where it's definitely a lot more laid back of a tone, but it still has great, it's just very consistent, where I would say Alola, it's not so much more of a progression story throughout the region. It's kind of a comedy, I guess, like I don't know how specifically to explain it, but it's a style of humor where you know what you're going to be getting in every single episode, and you could probably watch episode 50 and not watch episodes 20 through 30 and still feel like you really haven't missed much. Is that a good way to put it?
That's definitely a great strength of the series, and I would say you hit the nail right on the head there. Another thing I would say is that XY's main focus, and a lot of reason why a lot of people, including myself, love XY, is because the main focus of that anime was character building. We got a ton of great character development in that series, unlike anything we'd really ever seen before, except for maybe Diamond and Pearl. And then in this series, what I love is the world building is so much better because they're staying in one place. On Melee Island, they don't really have to make up all those like fake locations that they did for past regions just to pad time. It's like, okay, we know exactly where they are on Melee Island, and we see like the same characters recur throughout the series. We see like the similar Pokemon reappear throughout the series. Like there was this one episode with Mallow going in the forest, and she encounters this Oranguru that runs a bar. And this Oranguru has become a recurring character in some episodes. And it's like, that was supposed to be like a filler episode, people thought. And it's like, these people just keep reappearing. I like that, how they establish how the environment is. We know exactly where they are at all times, and we know what characters can show up.
And that's good. You'd like that too, because you kind of do grow close to some characters that you may see in the show that may not be regulars, where pretty much any generation before this one, you normally would see them for one episode, you'll never see them again. Where I always hoped, like when I watched
characters of the day, basically.
Yeah, and when I would watch it back in the day, especially when I was really into the show when I was younger, like generations 1 through 4, I'd say those are like the ones where I really stayed into the show, where there's so many good characters that I just never really saw again, and I was just disappointed. I was always hoping that I'd see them again as like a reoccurring character, but that, like what you said with Sun and Moon, you are seeing those characters that you like that you really didn't anticipate seeing again. So, I think we're done. I'd say we're good with the anime part. I feel like I had a good convo on that. I think the last thing that we can kind of get into is Generation 8. What are your hopes, or what are your expectations? That's actually two different questions. We'll go with the expectations first of what you can see from Generation 8.
Oh my gosh, expectations. There's so much. How can I narrow it down?
Let's say top 3 expectations to see in these new games.
Okay, so I would say we're definitely gonna get some sort of giant new feature that's gonna shake up the meta again. It won't be Megas, it won't be Z moves. It's gonna be something new, though. We don't know what yet, but they're gonna keep us on our toes with that, I would say. I don't know about the rest. I would say maybe they'll shake up the battle system. There's a lot of rumors that they will. As for the third one, I have no clue. They could do literally anything.
How about location? Where would you want it to be? Where would you want that region to be based off of?
There's been speculation about Spain. I would be okay with that. Maybe Australia, that would be cool. It could be just about anywhere, and I think they would make it work, especially the last 2 or 3 regions. They've really made location just work for them. Like Unova, Kalos, Alola, they all have very unique identities because of where they are set.
Yep.
And I feel like if they keep that up, they'll do great.
You nailed my two ones that I want. I want Spain and I want Australia, mainly because we've never seen anything Australia-esque in Pokemon before, but with Spain, go watch Pokemon Heroes. If you watch that and see what that scenery is like, how beautiful it is.
I freaking love the Venice movie. Oh my god.
If we can get something like that, I 100% approve. That's literally what I want to see.
That's Italy. Hang on.
Or Italy? Is it?
Yeah, that's Italy.
Okay. Then Italy, I guess.
Let's do Italy. Let's just do that one.
We'll do Italy. Yeah, because I would say with Spain, I'd say that's more art, right? More art styles, or trying to
there's a lot of like really cool kind of
differentiate. But yeah, definitely with like those flowing rivers in between the cities, I love that style. And I think there's actually, I don't know, a lot of people like this is getting to a different franchise, and probably a game that not too many people like. I love the game. Did you ever play Sonic Unleashed?
Unfortunately, I have not.
Okay. Well, there's this one specific area where Sonic Unleashed becomes like this werewolf, and you have to like become a brawler kind of esque character where you switch between night and day, and you get to go to all these different cities, and every single one has a different culture. And the one that was more Italy based, the same exact style of Pokemon Heroes, and every part of it just looked like something like I would want to be there. And I haven't really had that. Well, I guess I'd say I had that with past Pokemon games. With Alola, but I mean, with Alola, it's Hawaii, but I mean, we've seen islands before, so it's not like it's something new. Kalos was a little bit different, where it definitely had a different culture to it, and I think that was the biggest culture hit that we had, because I'd say with Generation 3, it was more island-based. Like, did they say what specifically Generation 3 is based off of, or they just kind of just put a bunch of stuff together?
That is Kyushu, Japan, like the very southernmost island, and then they like turned it 90 degrees.
Okay, because then with Generation 4, what was that based off of?
That is also Japan. The first 4 regions are all Japan, just different.
Okay, because like that's what I was gonna go to, because it was mainly Generation 5. That's when we started to see a real culture hit, that we definitely like had an overall theme with each one, where it was Generations 1 through 4. I'd say Generation 2 definitely had a different culture hit, where it's really more like, I think that was more China based, right?
It was more like Asian Japan,
okay,
with like how they did Ekritik City especially.
Yes, yeah, because that was definitely like very old school, and I like that, where I saw that culture change between the generations.
I think Alola just did it the best. Like, every island has its own distinct identity. Like, Melee, the first one, it has like a very traditional Hawaii kind of feel to it, and then you get to Akala, which is like the more developed American Isle, I guess.
I can 100% agree with that, because I went to Hawaii last August, so I kind of got to really understand what that feel was like, where they definitely had to, they definitely showed the appreciation towards these 4 different islands, and they really brought it out from Hawaii, where we went to, it's the main city population. I'm already drawing a blank, but we went to the island of Maui, where it's definitely more rural, where you guys see a lot more landscapes and mountains, and that was great, where they incorporated that with Sun and Moon. And the other one, oh man, I don't even know why, I can't remember, but there's a island that's definitely more touristy, where you get to see a lot more cities and people in there, where they captured that pretty well. So I would say if there's a place that I would want to live the most, definitely would be Alola.
Oh yeah.
So then going into my hopes, I guess, or expectations seeing into Generation 8. Jeez, that's just crazy just to even say that, Generation 8. But biggest things I want to see is more Pokemon, where I think the past 2 games we got about 60 official new ones. That's not including forms or anything like that. I'm not really going to include the Ultra Beasts, because I don't know, those are like aliens or whatever. I don't know if I want to like count them as like a mainstream like expectation of Pokemon, where I would love to see like 150 new ones again. But I know a lot of people had the gripe with Generation 5, where we did get 150 new ones, but the designs were a little bit, like, they're controversial. Let's just put it that way. Where with
that's definitely the risk you take, though, is the more designs you introduce, you're gonna have more flops. Like XY has the least amount of Pokemon introduced, but I would argue that they're probably the most consistent. But like, some people prefer, quality over quantity. Personally, I just love new Pokemon. Like, regardless of what they look like, I feel like every generation, regardless, is going to have bad designs. Like, that's just a given. And every generation is going to have great designs as well. And I just love having a ton of new Pokemon, because that just increases like the new factor. you know? I like having to learn everything about these new Pokemon.
Exactly, and I think the biggest thing, like, the only style of Pokemon I don't like are the ones based off of inanimate objects. I don't get behind that idea at all, but I really like anything based off an animal, bug, insect, whatever you want to call it, anything that moves and is alive, base it off of that. That's what I really get all excited for. But when I see something like a TV turned into Pokemon, I'm like, okay, I don't get it. I don't get it. You can't just put eyes on it and just call it that. Like, just put a little bit more effort into it at least, because I mean, there's so many different variants.
Sometimes do it well, but like oftentimes the inanimate objects are definitely the most harshly criticized ones.
Yeah, I would say one of the few ones that I do enjoy, because some of them are from Generation 1. I mean, it might be a nostalgia point for me, but definitely the Geodude line. I think I appreciate that one a lot, because it doesn't feel like it is an inanimate object. I mean, it's literally a rock, but they managed to make it where it has, especially when it turns into Golem, where it's like a part lizard rock, where you really feel that animal vibe into it. So I think as long as they're able to combine any kind of animalistic feel to an inanimate object, I think they can be successful with it. But yeah, it's just more of when I see something, because like it was with Generations 5 a lot that there were a lot of inanimate objects turned Pokemon. Those are like the most controversial, like an ice cream cone. You put eyes on it and you just call it that. Like, I can't get behind that idea or that style. But nevertheless, I mean, we had 150, so I mean, I can just kind of cross a lot off my list to be able to choose, all right, well, I'm going to go for like these 6 in this generation because I have a lot to choose from.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, I don't like Trubbish or whatever, then you can just avoid it, because there's a ton of Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if there's only 70, and the designs are kind of mad, then like your options are very limited.
And that's the scary part.
I don't like using past generation Pokemon.
No, never.
A lot of people will be like, oh, I want to use my favorites and just keep using them. I want to just use a team of like 6 brand new Pokemon.
Yep.
And I love having those options. So,
the only time I did not want to do that was with Generation 5, because a lot of the designs that I did like, I'm a Generation 5 hater, but there are a lot of things that I do appreciate in the storyline and everything. But the biggest thing with the Pokemon, all the good designs you got at the very end of the game, where there wasn't a lot of stuff that you could get at the beginning. And so when I was seeing like a Munna or whatever, or just all these like bad monkey style Pokemon, I just didn't like that style, and I was like, oh man, I'd really love to go back to like another like generation to be able to just use those to get me through this point of the game.
You definitely have to wait till you get to like sort of like the desert area before the designs start picking up. You can get like Sandile, which I love.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Great Pokemon there. Kafagrigus is kind of cool, I think. He's one of the inanimate
It's different, yeah.
And then they do like Zorua, Zoroark later on after that.
So I think
Drilbur's a great one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yes, you are right about that. Yep, that's one I got behind. I think I didn't like Drillbur like that design, but when it evolved Excadrill, I was 100% behind that.
Excadrill's definitely like the Gen 5 just monster. Everybody loves him.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's all those like anything that looks like a pseudo legendary, everyone's gonna get behind it. But a lot of people did not like the Generation 7 pseudo legendary of what's its name again?
Oh, Komodo.
Yes, that one. That one.
He's a little iffy in my opinion. Like he sort of looks like a Haxorus, but like just not as cool. I mean, he has that Alola style, I guess, to him, but like I feel like he could have done better. Yeah,
because it was the second. Evolution. That's the one I liked better. That style, where if they were able to enhance it differently from its second evolution of Hakamo'o, I think that was it.
Yeah.
Because I think it was just something about those eyes. They look intimidating. I like the style of it, but then it changed it to something completely different. I think they just took those scales to like a completely like uncomfortable level, and I just like it was almost too much that they did to it. So. But as far as anything else with Gen 8, I did like a lot of the things they did enhance as far as with Generation 7, as far as getting rid of HM moves. I think that was a great move where I don't have to worry about HM slaves anymore. I'm able to go ahead and choose whatever I really want. I was able to make a team and not worry about HM Surf or worry about using Rock Smash. I think that was a really good addition to be able to add to the game, and I hope they really do continue that. And
I think that in regard to that, I feel like Ride Pokemon, like you said, are a great addition. I love having to make a team and not have to worry about, like, oh, I need to teach Cards or Rock Smash or have HM slaves or something like that. I don't feel like Ride Pokemon were the best fix, though. I feel like they were too easy of a way out, if you catch my drift on that. Because, like, ride Pokemon are available to you at all times, right? So an area like Victory Road or Vast Pony Canyon, where you would have to, like, strategize, is just sort of gone, because you can just press a button and you have the Pokemon. Well, I feel like the right thing they could do is just be like, oh, you want to remove this boulder? Have a rock or fighting or steel Pokemon in your team or something like that. Or, oh, you want to surf? Just catch a water type. And that would encourage you to build a more diverse team, but also you just don't have those Pokemon by default.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I never really thought about that before I heard that from anyone. So yeah, I'd definitely be behind that because, I do like having a variety in my team and being able to just make it diverse and being able to utilize them in their own specific way. I think that would be another thing to be able to appreciate about the ones that you choose to have along your journey with you. But another thing that... I
guess the one downside to that would be like, oh, say I don't like any of the water-type Pokemon introduced in this generation.
Yeah.
I have to go catch one just for the sake of having one.
Then it becomes the Bidoof on the team.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, but another thing that I really appreciated, because I know a lot of people did not like Ultra Sun and Moon, but you have to look at it at this point where... compared to like the next like the sequel, it's not a sequel, but you know what I mean, where it's the second installment to that franchise, I think they did an amazing job at it as far as a enhancement. I think Generation 5 still beat it with Black 2, White 2 because they changed the entire storyline from the beginning to the end, where this one was mainly at the end, but they still did a lot of different things to be able to enhance the game. And the biggest thing that I liked was the difficulty, where this was the first game I've ever played, probably since I was like, I don't know, 5, because I don't think I technically beat Yellow version. That was my first game. I don't remember if I beat it or not. I probably didn't even know how to play the game or whatever, but I just liked the concept of it. But as far as the difficulty goes, that was the first game I ever had a difficult time with, and I really appreciate that. I think I lost like 5 times, like halfway through the game. I was like, this is a good thing. They're actually making me strategize, trying to figure out how I can beat these different parts of the game.
I can definitely agree. I loved the difficulty of Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. I hated how easy Gen 6 was. Like, that was by far my biggest gripe with it. I was like, I cannot replay these games and have fun because just every battle feels like a cakewalk. And they improved it a little bit in Sun and Moon, but Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon just took it to the next level. Like, these are by far the hardest games in my opinion. I just love that about the games. And these are good enhanced versions, I feel like, especially if you compare them to past enhanced versions. I feel like the main issue, though, is that just the way that people think has evolved, especially with how DLC is a thing now, and people expect that instead of enhanced versions. Like, I feel like enhanced versions are, like, outdated now. Like, These are good enhanced versions, don't get me wrong. I feel like I said, these are better enhanced versions than past enhanced Pokemon games. But the world has just sort of shifted away from that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, people just aren't as accepting of it anymore.
Like, people were so excited for, I think it was Crystal, to be able to come out on the virtual console. Like, you realize that's literally the exact same game, except for maybe 3 minutes worth, right? And I just and that's a nostalgia thing where they loved that game because that was a game that they played back then and they enjoyed it. Where now we do have a different set of expectations, and I'll admit, you know who part of the blame is? YouTubers.
Oh yeah.
They're the ones that hype up everything to another level, and they raise everyone's expectations up to something that's not even realistic. Because, I mean, if you think of it, it was a 1-year difference between each game. That means they have 12 months to be able to make it. They have to, like, what we expect to make an entirely new game in that amount of time. And that's just not realistic. It's not going to go down like that, where you have to be understanding of what you're going to be able to get in 12 months worth of work. And do I feel like they accomplished that? I think so. I feel like they could have done a little bit more as far as the beginning of the game goes. But at the end of the game, they did everything they needed to do. My biggest gripe, though, with this is they didn't bring new Alolan forms. I wanted that so bad. That was probably my favorite feature of this new generation. I mean, it's like showing my channel logo. Like, my logo is literally an Alolan form because I appreciated all these new designs, and a lot of them really stuck with me, where I like Alolan forms designed for some Pokemon even more than the original. Like, that's how good they did it, and I think that was something they really missed out on, instead of making more Ultra Beasts, which I don't like the designs because they are kind of based off inanimate objects. I don't really like that style, and so when I saw more of that, like, I don't care about that. That doesn't affect me. The only one that actually I liked was Poipole because it had more of that vibe that we are known to link towards a regular Pokemon.
Yeah, and I feel like another thing, people rush through Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, right? Because they want to get to the end, and they want to see like Team Rainbow Rocket or like Necrozma stuff at the end or whatnot, and they just want to see what the big differences are, right? But I feel like by rushing through the game, you go over a lot of the subtle stuff that separates Ultra Sun from regular Sun.
Yeah.
There's a ton of side quests, there's a ton of features introduced, there's a ton of like aesthetic differences that just really go unnoticed if you're just trying to like tunnel vision, get to the end of the game, and that's it. So then people get to the end, they beat Team Rainbow Rocket, and like, wow, that game sucked because it was the same as regular Sun and Moon. Whereas if you take your time and you like really see how they fleshed it, you're gonna have a much better time with it.
Yeah, and that was part of that was a problem on the developers' end. Like, they have to realize, like, everyone wants to see the new stuff in the game, and if you're gonna only make the new stuff, like at least the story stuff, the main story stuff, at the very end, people are like, why am I waiting so long? This is literally the exact same game I played until the very end. Where if you made that halfway through the game, I guarantee you, everyone would have a different opinion of this game.
I also don't like how they spoiled like the whole Team Rainbow Rocket thing.
Oh, they should not have even posted that. Like,
they did the same thing in ORAS, and like a week before the game launched, they literally released a trailer saying, here's the Delta episode, here's how you catch Deoxys, here's how you get Mega Rayquaza and whatnot. And I was like, why would you do this a week before the game
that's
launched?
literally that's what I want to be surprised with when I get a new game. I'm fine with finding out all the new features in it, but when it comes to storyline, I don't want to know that much. And another thing is just these nice little nostalgia things that us older fans, we appreciate, like with Sun and Moon, where we gotta find out with Red and Blue coming back to the game. Like, I didn't want to know that. Don't put that on the end. That's not gonna sell the game at all. Just because we know,
like, most of us, we're gonna buy the game because it's a Pokemon game.
Yeah.
Right? We don't need to be convinced, and then they're just like, oh, by the way, Red is here. Oh, by the way, you're gonna catch Deoxys. Oh, by the way, Giovanni comes back. Oh, and then it's just like, oh, stop, please.
It's literally the biggest spoiler in the entire game. Something that we are all like, that we don't know what we're looking forward to, and they just throw it at us. Like,
they've been so bad about this since ORAS came out. Like, I swear ORAS, like, everything was spoiled. And it was like, there already wasn't much to spoil because it was a remake.
Yep.
We knew how the original game, but then it's like, here's every single extra feature, every mega, everything, and you're gonna know about it before the game.
Exactly, and the biggest thing is I don't like remakes anymore. I'm done with them. There's no reason for them other than aesthetic purposes, and I feel like if you're ever going to do that, just make a sequel. Why can't you just make a sequel instead of remaking the game? Put a completely different storyline out there and give it to us.
If you're gonna remake the game, there has to be like genuine like improvements to it. Like, say Heart Gold and Soul Silver, they made team building so much better. They enhanced the post game a little bit. They fixed a few of the leveling issues, not all of them. They just made it a more enjoyable experience. Same thing with Fire Red and Leaf Green. They got rid of like a lot of the game-breaking stuff. They made the game mechanics just a lot better in general. A lot of it was aesthetic, but still, just making the game more enjoyable in general. But I feel like that was why a lot of people had an issue with ORAS, was that ORAS was like, oh, here's 3D models, here's the region, bye.
Yep. Yeah, basically, and I think another thing with Generation 1, when they came out with Fire Red and Leaf Green, they really didn't need to come out with it because I don't feel like we really developed that much as far as design goes on a Game Boy. Like, it'd be different if it was brought to a different console, but I mean, the fact that we were still in, like, what, 64-bit, like, video game, maybe a little bit more, or whatever, like, 128 really, or something,
but that much. Like, there was only, like, an 8-year difference.
But the thing I really did appreciate with the original games was because the graphics were so bad. I mean, I don't even know if you call them graphics, just call them squares. But it was so low that you kind of gotta come up with your own imagination of what your story was, where everybody kind of pictured a different story. We're not looking at them as these pixels. We're using our imagination to go along with them. So the more better graphics that we get, the less imagination that we get to use.
Well, and I even heard that for, like, you know, the big issues that Sun and Moon had with, like, excessive cutscenes and whatnot. Because people said, oh, if there was this epic confrontation between you and a villain or something like that in an older Pokemon game, you would use your imagination to, like, you know, sort of see how this would play out, just visualize it, whereas, like, in Sun and Moon, every little thing is a cutscene, and you're not really, like, given that sort of, like, freedom of mind, I guess.
Yeah, well, part of those cutscene problems was you'd walk, like, 2 steps forward, you have a cutscene to get to another cutscene, which you'd have to take another 2 steps forward. Like, it was all broken up. It wasn't very smoothly brought together, which they did actually improve it a little bit with Ultra Sun and Moon, where they did improve it that way. But as far as when they do these cutscenes, they better be epic, because if they're not epic, then it's something that I don't really need. When you just have characters kind of interacting back and forth, it doesn't really matter as much for me. But when you have, like, the scenes, I like, especially with the with Ultra Sun and Moon, where you're able to encounter all these legendaries and, like, using, like, the Ultra Warp Hole, I thought that was pretty cool, especially when I first saw the Mewtwo in the trailer, where, oh, that's literally exactly what I was imagining when I was encountering it in Cerulean Cave. But when they did it, all they really did was just have it stand up there where they didn't do anything else. So when you see that, it's just like, oh, that's it. See, that's when that imagination kind of goes away. That's all that happens, where you always expect something more epic in your head, and then when they actually have that ability to be able to display it towards you, and it comes not so high. I mean, the graphics are good, but if you're not going to make the story, like, cinematic wise, that's something that's really going to captivate me, then it's just, I thought it would be better than that.
Yeah.
So, but I think we've had this going on for long enough, so I just want to say thank you so much for coming onto the channel. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we can have you back on another time in the near future, because this is a good conversation. I enjoyed this with you. So anything that you would like to say towards the fans at the end of this podcast?
Well, just thank you very much for having me, like I said before, and for the fans that watched all the way through, thank you very much, and hope you enjoyed.
Alright guys, well, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys can always subscribe to this channel by clicking that button down below. Definitely check out my partner right here. We got JPRPT. I think I said that right. JRPT? JPR.
I know. If I could go back in time and change the...
Yeah, that's because, like, with me, I was always like the Poke Resort. Like, well, no one ever says that. Like, it kind of set weird when they're saying the name that way. Just call me Austin. I'm done with this. Just my name's Austin. Say what's up.
All
right.
But
thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one, and we're out.
Hey trainers, Ash Ketchum here to thank you for watching the Poke Resort. Become a Pokemon Master by subscribing to Austin's channel. Don't forget to see his other recent videos so you can watch them all. Pikachu and I have surfing lessons with Austin's Alolan Raichu. So, we'll catch you later. Ha!